Welcome to my favorite nonprofit radio segment called Nonprofits Care. Their causes are really extraordinary.
My favorite nonprofit, where causes are really extraordinary. Together we can make a difference. You and my favorite nonprofits who care.
Find out how you can make a difference at myfavoriternonprofit.com, where causes are really extraordinary.
You and my favorite nonprofits who care, who care.
Good morning and welcome to our show, Nonprofits Who Care. And CARE stands for Causes Are Really Extraordinary. My name is Ralph Grills, and I'm the founder of My Favorite Nonprofit. I'm here with my co-host, Helena Nee. Hi, Helena.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you.
And what I want to do this morning is introduce a very special guest that we have. Her name is Sandy Priester, and she is the Executive Director of LifeSpark. And Sandy, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, we're happy to have you. And tell us a little more about LifeSpark and what made you start it.
Well, LifeSpark is a nonprofit that promotes people with cancer, supports them. People going through cancer have all kinds of difficulties with side effects, and it's very stressful. There's just a lot of pain and destruction that comes with cancer. And so our organization supports them, really helps them just feel better physically, emotionally, mentally, kind of brings everything back into balance.
Okay, and so how do you support them?
We offer energy therapies, Reiki and healing touch. Oh, nice. And so we actually have, about at any given time, we probably have about 50 volunteers, Reiki and healing touch volunteers, that are matched with cancer patients.
Okay.
And so, they meet every week. They receive weekly sessions, and we work out of a number of facilities throughout the metro area.
Okay, so these volunteers are certified in Reiki, and then they do the Reiki with these patients?
They're trained in Reiki and healing touch. They have their own training, and then we also train them for our program. So we have an 18-hour training program that they go through, so they're ready to work within our system.
Oh, okay. So even though they know Reiki, they need to go to your system and they get a training. So
Yeah, and the training that we give them is, we have a protocol, but it's a lot about just how to work with people with an illness. A lot of people who are trained in energy therapies have never worked with someone with cancer. So.
And how does this help people with cancer?
It's very supporting, it's very relaxing. People just sort of kind of go, after a session, they just, they come in, sometimes people come in and they're very stressed or angry or lots of things going on.
Because, the Chinese have a exercise called Tai Chi, and on top of that, a lot of it is, into meditation, which they call Qigong, where you meditate and you go inside your body and be able to try to heal things. Is this similar to what you guys are doing for them?
This is more of a passive support. That's one of the great things about our program. When people go through cancer, they have a lot of fatigue. Chemotherapy, radiation, it's really, really hard on the body. It's necessary, but people sometimes are so tired, they can hardly get out of bed. They have all these appointments, they're overwhelmed, and so to be able to come in and just lie on a table and have someone care for them, have someone touch them with compassion and love, and support them in that way, it doesn't take any of their energy. In fact, they're energized afterwards. So it's such an awesome way to support people. The other practices that you mentioned are fantastic as well. Obviously, we're a big fan of any of those therapies, whether it's yoga, meditation, Tai Chi, any of those are awesome. Exercise, nutrition, the whole gamut of self-care and promoting wellness is really, really valuable.
Yeah, because I think they work in tandem because they all really work with the energy flow in the body.
Absolutely.
And also it gets their mind off the disease itself.
Well, and it brings them back to the place of being centered and balanced. That's really our goal. Energy therapies are about bringing a person back to their own self-healing, so they are empowered, they are in balance, and so their body, our bodies know how to heal themselves, obviously within reason, but, our bodies heal themselves every day. If we cut our finger, if we have a cold, our body heals itself. So
it'll rejuvenate itself.
So anything that we can do, and of course, these therapies are very helpful for just bringing a person back into balance, so that the body can do what it knows how to do, what it needs to do.
Wow. Is there any research that shows that this has some positive effect?
Absolutely. There's quite a bit of research. Healing Touch has about 90-some studies, and Reiki has 30 to 40 studies. There was a really excellent study recently, a National Institute of Health study. I don't know if you're familiar. I mean, that's if you get an NIH study, that's really extremely well designed. And you know that it's a really well put together study because it's a big deal. Anyway, so this was a study with cervical cancer patients, and basically what they did was people were going through 6 weeks, four weeks of radiation and 2 weeks of chemo. And some of them received Healing Touch and some of them did not. And they were studying immunity, which is fantastic because there are a lot of studies on depression, stress, anxiety, all of the sort of the quality of life measures, but there haven't been that many on physical measures. And so this one was a measure of the immune system. It had some certain measures within the immune system. And so the patients who did not have Healing Touch,
right,
during radiation chemo, the immune system, and it goes down, down, down. I mean, it just does because those treatments are so hard on the body.
Oh yeah, it's poison going into the body.
Well, it's really hard on the immune system, and so the immune system, as they're measuring it, is going down, down, down. And
right.
Healing Touch, the ones who received Healing Touch, it hardly went down. I mean, it
really?
was pretty significant. And of course, that's been written up in a major publication. So it's great to have those kinds of studies.
Well, that's great, because I didn't know there was any studies out there. I knew that I
been
believe in the energy flow and the work of it. Like when I
mhm.
brought up Tai Chi and Qigong, I did that, and I could feel so much better after doing it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and there's also a great study on Reiki. I mean, so Reiki recently had a study that was published in the Journal of American College of Cardiology, and it was a study about heart rate variability. Again, this was a great study because it was on a physical measure. They have somebody all hooked up to heart monitors. These are people who've gone through coronary incidents. And so after a coronary incident, the heart rate variability is one of the key factors that they watch in order to whether the person's going to have another heart incident. And so they gave them Reiki, and obviously they had a control study and they had a Reiki study. And the Reiki study showed that the heart rate variability was much lower, and they compared it to beta blockers, which are major drugs that they use to control heart rate variability. Right. And it wasn't a study that compared the two, but it was a study that, where they had this study and then they looked at another study on beta blockers, and there were similar outcomes. And so that's a really significant study, again, because it was in a major medical publication. So that's some of the really cool research that's coming out. And of course, kind of as an aside, I mean, I just have to comment, both of those studies, kind of as an aside in the article, oh, by the way, it also really helped with mood. I mean, as if, that's
well, I'm sure the hormone balance
is
now in balance because of it.
Yeah. But the mood, the depression, stress, anxiety,
right.
I mean, they also showed positive results there, but that wasn't the primary thing they were studying, because there were a lot of studies about mood and energy therapies. That's one of the primary ways that we know that they can be successful.
Well, I think energy therapy is overall a healing process. So if you have other things, just because it's cancer, you might have mood swings and stuff like that, like you're talking about, which is going to get balance back in your body.
Yes.
And that's very important.
Yes.
How long have you been doing Reiki?
Well, I've been practicing Reiki for 23 years.
Wow. You don't look old enough to be doing it.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
and I've also been practicing Healing Touch for about 15 or 16 years.
And what's the difference between Reiki and Healing Touch?
Well, Reiki comes from Japan, and so it's Eastern in its philosophy.
So it's a Japanese philosophy.
And it's very much about sort of allowing and not directing. Being still and just allowing the energy to flow. Healing Touch is Western. Healing Touch comes from Colorado. A nurse in Colorado by the name of Janet Metkin developed a system called Healing Touch, which uses practices from some other modalities. It's more linear in that it has more of there's a diagnostic piece, and then there are treatments, there are techniques that you use.
Right.
So it's more linear, and the thing that's really cool about this is that they come from two different places, that one is more directive, one is more passive. The outcomes are very, very similar.
Really?
So interesting.
That is interesting. So the combination of both, I would think, would
Yeah.
be just as,
Well, and usually our volunteers practice one or the other. Some practice both. You know, but regardless, the outcomes are pretty similar.
right. Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
I like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So you have your MBA from the University of Colorado.
Oh, I do. Yes.
What's your MBA in?
It's in basically marketing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then you got into nonprofit.
It's a great it's a great background. I mean, I use my MBA every day in running a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can imagine.
You know, I mean, there's so many things that related to finance and related to marketing and related to, you know, personnel and all the different aspects of running it. It's a business, except that nonprofits are businesses, except that they just use resources differently.
Exactly. I mean, you still have to have revenues. You still pay rent.
Yes.
You still have expenses.
Yes.
And that's why I try to get across to people that they say they want to start a nonprofit. I go, you better look at the business side and see if you're interested in that as well, because that's part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, there's an organization called ETA, which is a nonprofit that will allow people to do their cause or mission under their nonprofit umbrella.
Oh, there are some other organizations like that too, so you don't have to go, you get like, there are fiscal agents that you can have, so you don't have to have all of that piece.
Right, and the cool thing about ECTA is because some others will charge you maybe a fee or something of your funds. ECTA raises all their administration expenses on their own. So 100% that you raise to them goes to your cause.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we had the founder on our show, and he was really cool.
Yeah.
And he did that because he had a cause. He was running under another nonprofit.
Yeah.
And he found out they're paying like 15%, but the things that they were giving them as service, there were some things that they really didn't feel they needed. Yeah, and so they thought, well, why are we paying this?
Yeah.
And so that's why he started his own.
Yeah.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
And that's how usually good things come about. People see, hey, there's a problem here, let's fix it. And then they start something to do that.
Right.
So that's kind of exciting.
He's very young too. He's back in India now with his wife and kids.
Yeah.
But he's only like in his early 30s.
He's in his 30s,
He's
yeah.
been doing it for 12 years.
Oh, that's
He
wonderful.
goes to India and
He's an American that's doing a project in India. Yeah. So.
I receive calls fairly often from people around the country that want to start a program like ours. We are the only one, I mean, there's one in Florida that's very small, much smaller than Lifespark. There's one in California at Stanford Medical Center that's in a hospital. It's hospital-based, so they don't have a lot of the administrative pieces of running a nonprofit. You know, we're pretty much it, other than the one in Florida. And it's harder than people think.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Which is why it's great to know about that organization.
Right.
You know, to help people with that side of things.
Exactly.
Because most people don't have, I mean, I have both. I have both the energy experience and the business experience, but it's not that common out there. Most people that want to start a program like this are coming from the service side, which is wonderful. I mean, they want to.
Yeah, they have their passion for
absolutely
a cause that they want to get involved in, so they want to do something for it.
Right.
But then when they start a nonprofit as a 501c3, first off, there's a lot of paperwork just to
yeah,
start it.
absolutely.
And then they're like, wow, there's all this filing I have to do, and there's all this. I don't have time to go out and do what I want to do.
Plus fundraising.
Yeah,
and
marketing. Money.
Fundraising and marketing.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we try to promote with our company at My Favorite Nonprofit is collaboration between nonprofits. And we were actually, last week, had 2 nonprofits come in that were separate nonprofits now that have merged.
Really?
Yeah, because it's called 3T Ministries. And what they do is they do recycle bikes for kids.
Oh, awesome.
And then there was another nonprofit called Trikes for Kids. And what he did was bikes for kids. So I thought, well, why are we competing against each other? Really? Why don't we go together? Yeah. And now they're under the same umbrella.
Well, I work with the Colorado Cancer Coalition.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with them, but I'm actually the co-chair of the Quality of Life Task Force.
Oh, cool.
And so, I mean, I know the other nonprofits in the cancer community. I know them pretty well. You know, I work with them on the task force, and we attend each other's fundraisers sometimes, and are supportive and refer patients back and forth. So collaboration is really important.
That is true, because there's an event I know you're involved with called Step Up for Cancer. which is over at the big sporting event center.
Yeah.
And I was there last, I think it was in August, and it was great because they had 45 different nonprofits that help in the cancer arena. And a couple of them I met are in the process of merging with other nonprofits. Because they think that if they combine their resources, they can be much more effective.
One of the things that we believe in is we believe in being specialized. We're very specialized. We don't do everything for everybody. The organization that we came out of was more general whole-life wellness community. They had originally they supported people with all life-challenging illnesses, and they had a wide variety of services. They ended up having to close. We've remained very focused. We do one thing, that's energy therapies for cancer patients. Very focused, very specialized. And so that actually helps us because we don't get sidetracked by a lot of other things.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
How do you find volunteers? I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
How do you find volunteers?
Well, you know, people hear about LifeSpark, and people that do practice Reiki and Healing Touch generally call us because they hear about it and they want to participate. I mean, people that practice energy therapy want to do these therapies.
Yeah.
They want to make a difference. They know how powerful they are. And so, you know, they find out about us and they're very interested. Plus, you know, we work with the medical community, which is another part that makes us unique because we work with Rocky Mountain Cancer Centers. We're in 5 of their facilities. And, you know, so this is an opportunity for them to have an experience like that they wouldn't normally have.
Are they acknowledging more now of the energy?
It is really starting to change. When we started this program 10 years ago, there were no programs. There really were no integrated programs to speak of in the metro area. That was only 10 years ago.
Really?
And now, 10 years later, every hospital, every medical center has some form of integrated therapies. I mean, that's a sea change. Now, energy therapies, you know, they're coming along slowly. But you know, we're on the way in. I mean, this is the future. In fact, we had an oncologist. One of our oncology friends is Dr. Sammy Diab at Rocky Mountain Cancer Center, and he recently spoke at a fundraising event that we had for us. And one of the things that he said about us is he said, one of the reasons to support us is because we are the future.
There you go.
And there was an oncologist that said that, you know.
Yeah, that is kind of rare to see a medical doctor.
You know, I mean, but what he's acknowledging is that yes, obviously we need medicine, and in the future I believe we will be in a place where not only is the body looked at and treated, but the mind and emotions and the relationship between them will become as essential as the medical treatment. Where that will become so central that it's just people won't even think about it. Of course they're going to have complementary therapies, you know. Of course they're going to take care of themselves mentally, physically, spiritually, as well as receiving medical treatment. It will just be the norm.
Right.
Look at technology. I mean, we have this little tiny phone that can do so much. The technology is changing so rapidly. What made us think that we're not changing? Our body, our cells, and everything else is not changing.
That's true.
The old medicine is not going to work on this body anymore because the body is also evolving as well. The cells evolving. I think that's whoever get in on this. Really, like even the doctors and nurses, they should know other energy modalities so that they can be good on, you know what I mean? If one doesn't work, then they go to the other one to help. You know, I think they go together. I would not discard one or the other.
Yeah. I mean, we need both. We need both.
Yeah, because I think the combination of Eastern and Western medicine is really the way to go. Because on the Eastern side, they have a lot of, like you're talking about, the energy therapies. Acupuncture is very big. I see an acupuncture doctor here from China, and she is awesome. You know, and my energy level when I leave is so much higher. And so and they said that if people that get strokes, if they get acupuncture right after they have a stroke, they get more use of their limbs and stuff if they get. And so that's there are so many ways to use energy therapies that haven't even been discovered yet. I mean, this is such an exciting time to be here, to be involved in energy therapies, because it is just it's like we're just at the beginning of what's possible.
It's going to be as amazing as the physical technology that we have.
I agree.
I think a lot of the medicine is not going to work on the body.
Well, that's possible.
I mean, antibiotic, a lot of my friends are sick, and this thing's not working anymore.
Well, I mean, I give myself energy work every day, and it keeps me healthy, and I don't get sick.
And all
I
it is
really
is,
don't get sick, you know? And I mean, I do other things too. I exercise, I do nutrition. I mean, I pay attention to my body
And our thoughts.
and my thoughts.
Oh, that's the
I
key.
do.
Both.
I pay attention to my emotions and my thoughts. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's physical, mental, and spiritual.
Mhm,
And if you
mhm.
have balance between the three,
Yep.
like you're
Yep.
talking about, you'll
Mhm.
stay healthy and you'll be enjoying life
Mhm.
much more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
yeah.
think the physical is acknowledge the last. Like if you don't take care of your emotion, if you don't take care of your spirit, if you don't take care of
Mhm.
other things, and then you have the pain in the body, that's when it's like the last straw. It's like,
Yeah,
Well, I
that's-
mean, it's sort of, you know, it can go either way. I mean, the illness, you know, can start from something physical, you know, or it can start, you know, it can be triggered by, or certainly, you know, certainly more likely to become ill related to emotions. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, grief is one of those emotions that it just sticks in your body. It's just in there. And if we don't have ways to release grief, it shows up in ways we don't want it to show up.
That's true.
It goes
Yeah.
somewhere. People think it's, you know, they put it away and they think it's never gonna bother them again. And 10 to 20 years later, something happened to them and they don't know where it comes from.
And grief is one of the most difficult ones. It seems like it holds on longer than a lot of the other emotions. And because grief is so deep, it can be so deep.
That's a good point. On that note, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with Sandy, and we'll talk some more about her organization, Life Spark, and we look forward to talking to her after the break.
Welcome to my favorite nonprofit radio segment called Nonprofits Care. Their causes are really extraordinary.
Welcome back to our second segment. We're here with Sandy Priester.
Yes.
And Sandy, you are with Life Spark, and we were talking about Reiki and what you're doing. Tell me, is there any side effects from these sessions that people have for the Reiki?
No, that's one of the wonderful things about energy work. I mean, there are drugs for anxiety, there are drugs for depression, there
Right.
are drugs for pain,
There's drugs for everything.
there's drugs for everything, and they all have side effects.
Right.
And so drugs basically suppress the symptoms.
Right, kind of
You know,
mask them.
they mask them, they cover
Right.
them up. Whereas
Yeah.
energy therapies don't mask anything. They actually go to the sort of the source or the root cause, if you want to call it that, and they support the body's ability to heal. It's a
Uh-huh.
completely different way of approaching a side effect like pain or depression or stress. Completely different.
Well, I would
And-
describe it as with the body allows the body to release these things. Like, you know, the chemicals will keep it in your body, and
Uh-huh.
the mask it is still there.
Mhm.
Where Reiki, after I did, I feel like everything was being released out of
Yeah,
my body.
sure,
All
sure.
the stress.
Yeah.
I actually had a speech I had to do one night, and I had a Reiki session prior to the speech to test out how the Reiki works.
Uh-huh.
And I tell you, when I went and gave that speech, it was the best speech I ever gave. I
Uh-huh.
had no fear, which is your
Uh-huh.
biggest fear, is getting up in front of people
Yeah,
to talk,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I felt no fear, and it was like people were standing up, giving me an ovation.
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't believe it.
Uh-huh.
And it was because all that energy was in my body now as a positive energy,
Uh-huh,
and
yep.
no negative was coming
Yeah,
in.
yeah. Well, and-
So that's the
and-
power of it.
Well, yeah, and it helps you release the fear and be calm. And I mean, the other thing about energy therapies is they really do enhance thinking and
Uh-huh.
mental clarity.
Exactly.
You know, so people that have chemo
Yeah.
brain, chemo brain is real. I mean, they have, it's really foggy brain, and it's hard to think clearly, and it makes
It's kind of like
it-
dementia that comes in. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
makes it difficult to function, and that's another
Yeah.
great thing about energy therapies, you know, is we help them to function.
Right.
You know, that's one of the, I think maybe, for some people, it's one of the scariest things, is to think about, well, gosh, if I'm that tired, and if I can't think straight, and if I'm so overwhelmed, I'm gonna have to have people take care of me. And not
Right.
everybody, first of all, has that option, and secondly, even if they do, they don't wanna be a drag on
Be a
their
burden
family
for
and
people,
their
yeah.
friends,
Mhm.
you know, and so if they can find a natural way to function better mentally, function better physically, I mean, that's freedom. That's their own freedom.
Oh, yeah, because I know my dad, he passed away from liver cancer,
Mhm.
and he was doing the chemo, and
Mhm.
it just, wiped him out.
Yeah,
I mean, he had no
Yeah,
energy,
yeah.
so if he could have had something like this would
Yeah.
be perfect for him.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So this is definitely a good thing. Is there any cost for these sessions to the patient?
There is a cost.
Uh-huh.
We do charge sliding scale fees.
Right.
It's between $1 and $25 a session, which is a amazingly cheap.
Yeah.
And you know, I used to work with a woman in Denver Health when I was, I would give her energy work when she would go in and receive chemo. She'd be sitting in her chemo chair, and I would just go in there, and you know, she was a Spanish speaker, and I don't speak Spanish, you know, but we didn't really need to communicate very much, you know. I would just say hola and you know, gracias, and well, I know like 2 words in Spanish.
There you go.
You know, and once in a while her daughter would be there to translate, you know. But you know, I would just, she had terrible headaches from the drugs. She had neuropathy, which is pain in the fingertips.
Right.
It feels like you have pins and needles.
Isn't it like you have pins poking you? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really painful, very painful. And she'd be very stressed and, you know, kind of have a frown on her face when I come in. And by the time I was done, you know, she'd be sound asleep. You know, her face would be relaxed. She'd just have, you know, just look totally peaceful. You know, well, anyway, so the point back to the fees, though, she paid me $1 a week.
Wow.
I mean, $1. She paid me $1, and that was a lot to her. That meant something to her.
Right.
And because she paid $1, it meant that she was invested in her own healing.
She's giving value,
You know,
yeah.
she was giving
What
value.
she's getting,
So I
yeah.
mean, a lot of the reason we charge is because it really helps people to be empowered and to pay something back for what they're receiving. So they're not receiving charity. They're engaged. They're involved.
Yeah, and I think a lot of nonprofits go that way, like, you know, Habitat for Humanity.
Mhm.
They make people pay
Yes.
back loans
Yes.
for the house.
Well, they also have to work in the
And
house
exactly.
to build it. Yes.
They have to build
So
it,
they
so-
have an investment in it. Absolutely.
Right.
It's an energy exchange.
Yeah, it's an energy
It has
exchange.
to flow both
Yeah,
directions.
yeah.
You know,
Right.
You can't just give and not receive. You
Yeah.
can't just receive and not give.
Right.
That's a good point.
So $25 is the top amount. You know, people could be millionaires and come to our program. I doubt that they would be, you know, but they could, you know,
Mhm.
and pay $25.
Well,
You know,
actually, I
that's
think, you know, people with a lot of money are now looking for other options because they find out that the Western medicine is not working for them. And
Well-
they want something that's gonna make them feel better. And-
Well, right, and I think Western medicine is so focused on the illness.
Right.
You know, whereas
Right.
the complementary integrative therapies help them feel better physically, emotionally, spiritually. You know, spiritual is another piece. I
Mhm.
mean, that's something that generally is not talked about when we talk about illness.
Mhm.
And a lot of people have what I would call a spiritual crisis when they get cancer. I
Oh, I
mean, you know,
can imagine.
why did God do this to me? You know?
Yeah.
And so to be able
They start
to.
questioning everything at that point.
Absolutely, and so to
Yeah.
be able to address something, and of course, what we're doing is not religious, there's no dogma, it's just that it helps that person connect back to their inner soul, their connection to whatever that is for them.
Mhm.
You know, we don't put language on it, we don't, you know, it just happens naturally.
Right. Well, I think spiritual is a big part of this because I know people that have been ill and they start like prayer chains.
Yeah.
And through these prayer chains,
Yes.
they're miraculously become
Yes.
cured with
Yes.
those diseases that
Yes.
they had.
Yes.
Which the doctor said, oh, there's no hope for these people.
Right,
And next thing you know, they're walking and there's like, well, it's gone.
right.
Yeah, so there's a
And
lot
so
of
that's
power
kind
there.
of the difference in the paradigm between healing and curing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, curing.
Well, that's true. Healing and curing.
Curing is about going after the illness. That's what the medical community does.
Right.
I mean, we want them. I mean, they are amazing. They do amazing work. We want them to be working on curing. But we also want to have healing going on.
Right.
You know, healing, which means bringing the whole body back into balance, bringing the body back to its own ability to heal itself.
Right.
And healing on any level. I mean, so we had a woman who had been estranged from her brother for, I don't know, like maybe 15, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And she was in late stage cancer, getting ready to pass. And while she was receiving sessions from us, she started to release that rage and that anger that she had towards him. And she realized she wanted to talk to him. And so she ended up calling him. And he came to Denver and they reconciled before she passed.
Oh, really?
You know, and so even though she was not cured, on some level she was healed before she left.
Wow.
You know, so that's
Yeah.
the difference between curing and healing. You know, we want both.
Right.
I mean, and sometimes we get both. Some, you know, like you mentioned, when somebody's miraculously cured, or even if they go into remission after being in medical treatment,
Mhm.
you know, they're cured and they're healed. I mean, how many times have I heard someone tell me cancer is the best thing that ever happened to me?
Mhm.
Well, the reason they say that is not because they went through cancer and they were cured from it. I mean, cured is you know, but you know, the reason they say that is because something healed in them.
Right.
Something in their emotions, their mind healed, so they looked at life differently.
and their body became in the balance, which it was probably way out of balance before.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know Marcia Donzinger.
Yeah,
And
sure.
Marcia survived ovarian cancer.
Oh, and that's,
Yeah.
ovarian is one of the worst.
Yeah, and it's very invasive surgery and everything else,
Yeah,
and then she had to
yeah.
do 6 months of chemo after.
Yeah, yeah,
And she started mylifeline.org.
yeah.
And it's great because now people can really get involved and
yes.
not have to bother the patient that's going through the cancer.
Yeah.
And find out what's going on, and also be able to read about stories and give stories.
Well, and the support that people get from family, that's part of the healing.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's part of the whole picture. It's really
Right.
important. Support's is so important.
Yeah, and I assume your information's on her site? If not, it should
yes,
be.
Yes, yeah, we have a link to her
Yeah,
site.
because I thought I saw it on there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Why don't you give your website before we have you go?
www.lifesparknow.org.
Lifesparknow.org.
And just a couple things, we are participating in Colorado Goods Day on December 4th.
Oh, yeah.
So people that would like to contribute to us can do so through that website. We also are actively looking for people. We're looking for an event planner. If someone out there has some skills in that area, and we do a lot of events. And so that's just another way to participate. There are lots of ways to participate in Life's Work.
Yeah, because I'm on your email list, and I get a lot of the events that you have coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's really neat. You guys are very
I
involved
didn't know
out
you were
there.
on my email list.
Yes, I
That's
am.
awesome.
You must have a big email list then. Because you don't know everybody, right? Yeah. So I've known about you guys for a while now and been following
yeah.
you. And I really think what you're doing is awesome. So,
Yeah,
like I
thank you.
said, I
It's
want to
incredible.
see you later and
Yeah.
get the energy work myself.
Yeah,
And
that's
see
great.
the
Awesome.
positive effects.
Awesome.
Very good.
That's
Well,
great.
Sandy, we really appreciate you coming on to our show.
You bet.
We enjoyed having you, and we look forward to talking to you some more.
Great.
I'm Ralph Grills with My Favorite Nonprofit, and you can find out more about nonprofits at our organization at myfavoritenonprofit.com. And I'm here with my co-host, Elena Dean. Hi, Elena.
Hi.
And we will be back after the break and talk with our next guest.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
My favorite non-profit, where causes are really extraordinary. Together we can make a difference. You and my favorite non-profit who care.
Find out how you can make a difference at myfavoritennonprofit.com, where causes are really extraordinary.
You and my favorite non-profit who care.